Well, I didn't marry because I knew that I would not be able to have the life that I had dreamed if I married. I didn't marry because I've been partnered with Stedman since 1785. And he is a wonderful man, but he is also a traditional man who had his own ideas about what being a wife was. And the moment what I realized, and this is what you all didn't know for yourself, I wanted to feel worthy enough to be asked. And the day he asked me, I started to feel like, oh God, what does it really mean to be married?
I am choicefully single, happily, gloriously single.
Amen.
And I do wish there were more examples. So many people ask the question, have you ever thought about having children? Like, I mean, my child gave my life meaning. I'm like, are you saying my life is not meaningful?
Yeah.
And because of the structure that we live in, it is so easy for me to feel undermined with all the accomplishment that I've had. And
Well,
All right, so that's where the video stops right there, guys. I didn't stop it. That's where it stops. I thought this interaction between Oprah Winfrey and Tracy Ellis Ross was pretty fascinating because you hear what she said there about why she wanted to be a wife. It wasn't because she actually wanted to be a wife. No, she wanted to know that a man would be willing to pick her, willing to get on one knee and say, I want you to be my wife. And then, you have Tracy Ellis Ross there who chimes in and says, hey, are you saying that because I don't have children, because I don't have a marriage, because these women are in the same situation. Sure, one may be vastly richer than the other one, but they're the same type of archetype, type of a woman. Tracy Ellis Ross says, are you saying because I don't have a marriage or children, that means I don't have any meaning? Here's why. The two reasons I think this conversation is actually a pretty good conversation. How many chicks do you guys think are out here begging for that ring? I mean, gave their men ultimatums, sat down and said, listen, what are we doing? You've been dating me for this long and you have not brought up the question. Sometimes that works. But a lot of times that man feels pressured to do something that he may not necessarily think that he doesn't want, but he's like, I don't know if you would make a great wife or maybe the type of wife that he needs. And I think it's bigger than that, right? I think there are more chicks out here with Oprah's mentality who just never realize it until they serve their husband with those divorce papers. Are you guys following me? If only they understood, if only they knew the sacrifices that come with marriage. And if you really get to the root of all this thing, it's really just like an ego thing almost. You just want to know that a man would make you his wife, but you don't actually want to be that. I think there are more and more chicks out here in that exact same situation. We know they don't want to be that. Why? Because the first place they go when problems start to get so difficult, I'm talking about modern day women, to the point where the therapist won't help, the pastor won't help. They don't know where else to turn. They turn to TikTok. We see them often complaining about what marriage is. And what do they try to do? They try to change what marriage should be. We've seen it over and over again. And if only, because I actually think that it was sort of commendable for Oprah Winfrey to say, wait, do I actually want this? Yeah, I like this thing we have going on. And by the way, I don't think marriage is for everybody. She was really self-reflective and said, you know what? I think I want to keep this thing going. I don't think I would make a good wife. I think there's so many chicks out there today who also could benefit from realizing and really, really accepting, like, this is what marriage is. This is what it means to be a wife. Because that they want to change it. And the problem with changing the institution of marriage, and I'm talking about the actual dynamics within a marriage with the type of men that most women find attractive, is you're trying to change what that man wants and is looking for. You're not going to do that. You need to be honest with yourself and say things like, hey, I just want a pretty dress. I just want all eyes on me for a day or two. I just want the validation of being picked by a man. But to admit that, would be sort of a humbling thing to a lot of chicks today, to admit that, hey, I want to know that I could lock down the type of man that I find attractive. I'm not talking about the dusty dude who you always bring up, who got on one knee because he's been simping for the past, who knows how long. No, the man that you want. I thought this was interesting. The other thing I wanted to do was find out a little bit more about Oprah Winfrey and her marriage. And there was this video right here that I actually cannot play out loud. And I'm going to ask Miss Coffee to actually summarize it for us because it has some music in the background. You guys know what the music thing, it could go either way. And here, Miss Coffee, can you please summarize this video for us, please, so we can avoid some copyright? Let us know what this is about.
All right now, hun. This video's brewing up some reflection on modern love and what it really means to commit without a contract.
Okay.
So here's the essence of what it's saying, without stepping on any copyright toes. It's using Oprah and Stedman as an example of a couple that's done things outside the norm. 30+ years together, engaged but never married. And not because they couldn't, but because they chose not to. The core idea? They didn't tie the knot because they felt that doing so might have ruined what they had. Oprah's background, growing up with trauma, dealing with control issues, made her feel like marriage could become a cage. She didn't want to be owned, and she didn't want to give up her identity, especially as a woman with massive vision and career goals. Now Stedman? He's being painted as the man who didn't need to be in charge. He wasn't trying to control her or change her. He just supported her from the sidelines.
I bet a lot of us would love to support Oprah Winfrey from the sidelines. Come on, man. They're acting like what a sacrifice was made. Supporting a billionaire from the sidelines. I know a few guys who will be like, hey, I'll applaud from the sideline. I'll be the strong man she needs, right?
The message here is that maybe love doesn't always need a marriage certificate to be real.
Is that what held them together? Oh, is it those bank statements that were hitting the account consistently? Let me stop being a fool, man. Let's keep
to be deep or to be long-lasting. And the question it ends with is real spicy. Could not being married actually help love last longer? Now that's going to stir some cups, depending on who's listening. Want me to break it down from a man's lens too?
Nah, we got it. But thank you, Ms. Coffee. So a lot was said right there. I think that was a good question she asked. Could not being married actually help love last longer? I think it probably does. And let me frame that the right way so you understand where I'm coming from. I think marriage has less to do with love and more to do with what you're building, the legacy of the family. And I'm talking about the children here who come after you, and also the challenges that you overcome together, you, your significant other in this life. Love is a beautiful thing, but it doesn't keep people together. And if you've matured in your understanding of relationships, you know that. And so, yeah, I would say not getting married probably keeps that love together because then you don't have these marital commitments. The reality is marriage does change you. She says she doesn't want to give up her identity. That is true. Once you get married, you give up a part of who you are, right? It changes how you define yourself, your goals, and you have to take into consideration, strong consideration, not only your needs, but also your significant other, right? Not to mention your children and so on and so forth. But here's the coffee when it gets to the situation we're about to get into right now, right? And they're not going to like this. But think of the women that look up to a woman like Oprah Winfrey or Tracee Ellis Ross. And I'm not just talking about they appreciate them for their acting skills or the things that they've accomplished in life. No, I'm talking about the ones that see themselves in these women. These are typically the type of chicks who will say things like, I don't mind being single, and today's men are misogynistic. They expect these traditional dynamics within the relationship. And they'll say things like, I don't care if I don't get married. I'm coming to peace with that. You never hear women who are struggling to survive talk like this. You don't, right? Those are the chicks who are like, hey, we're all the good men. We're all the good men. And the irony in this conversation is this. I believe the final form of the successful boss babe is a woman who takes care of a man. And I just think that's so ironic that the only way you see him be able to truly have these type of dynamics and have a successful relationship, may not be a marriage, but relationship, is when that man can shut up and live that soft life. You get what I mean? Oprah Winfrey's, who she calls her partner, has been living that soft life for 30 plus years. And I am saying that even if a woman today says to me or you, or announces and says, you know, I don't see myself getting married, like, let's be honest here. You're in your 30s. You're going to be celibate for the rest of your life. Come on. Someone's getting access to you. You're not, these aren't Bible believing, Christian women who are taking this path and avoiding any type of sexual immorality. I mean, even the ones that are, once in a while, come on. Let's be real. Men do have access to you to some degree. And I think the final stage of that, a woman who truly embraces that, is the type of woman who's either taking care of a man who she says, oh yeah, he respects me for my strong and independence, never signed anything, not an official husband, but he's like a partner, but she takes care of him. She truly becomes that man. But they'll label it as, this is the man who respects me for who I am. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that if that's the type of dynamic that you value and want. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a little bit ironic. And then you might have somebody who may say, well, that's not true. Tracee Ellis Ross doesn't have that type of dynamic. Yeah, but and we're about to get into that next. She also talks about dating younger men. Dating younger men. Younger men typically won't be as successful as you currently are. Younger men typically will shut up and let you lead because, yes, there is a degree of life experience, but, there's a level of that man not really tapping fully into his masculinity as a man. And that's why typically when a woman gets older, if she's single and is still out here dating, she will be more open to younger men because they also view her as easily accessible. This isn't me just talking out of my butt here. I actually did a whole video on this with a data analyst. We sat there and looked through, OkCupid information of these studies that they no longer do because it offends women. Looked at all of that. But that's it for this topic. Of course, I'm curious to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. Moving on.